Hey everyone, it's the host of All Across America, Marco Vig, jumping in for a few seconds before the show to thank y'all for listening, to let you know that I want to hear from you. Tell me what you like about the show, and send me your suggestions too. Follow us on Instagram at AllXAmerica, or visit the website, allacrossamerica.net, and you can use our contact page there. If you want to support us, we're on Patreon at patreon.com/allacrossamerica. Try to respond personally to everyone who reaches out, so say hello. All right, on with the show. Podcasting from Portland East to Portland West, from Big Pine Key to Pacific Beach, and from San Juan to Guam, this is All Across America.
Psarofagis.
Psarofagis.
Psarofagis. Psarofagis. There you go. Yeah, there you go.
It's like the faye, the yogurt.
Yeah, exactly. Fine. So the actual translation of my last name is fish eater. Psaro.
Really?
Psari is
Sado,
fish.
okay.
And fai means eat. Faye. Like
Faye,
so
okay.
that's like the yogurt.
Fayes, okay.
But it's funny because my family's from the mountains of Greece.
Okay.
we're not. I mean, like, we're about an hour from the coast, but
Right.
it's the craziest thing. I don't know how they came up
I mean,
with it.
at some point, maybe they were by the coast and decided enough of
there
this
were-
fish business.
My
let's
dad
go to
told me the
mountains.
story. He said, because way back when there was big families, there was a lot, so they split the last name like 3 ways, right? There were 3 siblings, 3 brothers, and then they each put a version of the last name because the families were too big and there was too many people with the same last name.
Okay.
So they split it up that way.
And not enough differentiation in the first names.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yes.
Well, we already kind of jumped into it. So how long have you been in the business? Your dad was in the diner business before you, and the Holiday Diner's been around
Yes.
since the 40s. Let's hear all that.
Holiday Diner been around since 1947. My parents, my father, my mother, they've been in the diner business for 40 plus years.
Wow. Okay.
My dad, in some capacity or another, he's been an owner of 5 different diners.
Okay.
Right. But now it's just this is the only one we have left. He's since sold everything off, and my dad always said this one was his favorite out of all the places he's owned. So this is the one we kept, and this is the one we're full on.
Very nice. So what's his role now? Just
Mostly
concierge?
retired.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
now he says that he works for me now. So he
Good to hear.
he stopped by today. We'll do like a Costco run once a week.
Sure.
I have small things that I need done that really things that don't have like a time frame or real pressure.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if they do, he's not doing them anyways.
Right, fair enough. I mean, he's retired. So.
He's mostly retired. He stays home, watches my kids.
Okay.
Rides his motorcycle.
Good for
goes
him.
on, he'll do extended trips to Greece with my mom.
Okay.
He will. He's got these guys he hangs out with. He did a cross country trip last year.
Good for him.
For like a month. And he's just doing all the things now
that he
wished he never really do. Because at his peak, he owned 3 diners, and he was. I mean,
all over
and
the
at
place.
the time they were 24 hours.
Oh my goodness!
So he was. He worked a lot. He put a lot of hours in, a lot of miles.
Okay.
So now he's like, I've got this one under control, more or less. I think.
Yeah.
And he's just coasting.
So where were these diners? Did you own them when you were young? And
Yes.
did you spend a lot of time, visiting? Yeah.
I was the only kid in America who hated snow days because if there was a snow day, I was going to work.
Right.
He was a former owner of Orem's Diner in Wilton. So,
yes, I know Orem's.
So, but it was the original location, not the new one.
Okay.
So before they built Route 7.
Right. Okay.
The original location, that one was there for a long time.
Okay.
He was there with a couple partners.
I see. Okay.
He then wanted to branch out on his own. He opened another one in Milford.
Okay.
The Athenian Diner 3, which is still there. And then he opened one in Waterbury, also the Athenian Diner 4.
Wow.
That one's not there any longer. But and then he bought this one in 2000.
Okay.
And this is the last one standing.
Wow.
He got out of everything else. He just sort of wanted to simplify, do a little less. And like I said, this was always his favorite one.
So they were 3 diners, 24/7, 365.
Yep.
So what was that like growing up? And I mean, you said the snow days, but it's got to go way beyond that.
Sure. It was. We started working. I think I started working. I was like 7 years old. He brought me in. My job was to clean tables and put the water glasses on the table, and then eventually he taught me how to do the register. He taught me. I think I was like 11 years old. He taught me how to count change backwards, and I was cashing out customers at 11.
Must be a pretty decent in math class at the time.
I mean, he always watched. He wouldn't leave me there by myself, but yeah, he taught us young. Again, young, he taught us, put us in the kitchen, right? So,
Okay.
I remember I used to do white toast and I used to do French fries. That's
White
it, right?
toast and French
White
fries.
toast and French fries.
It's kind of
not
hard
whole
to,
wheat toast, not rye
hard
toast.
to screw those up.
White
Yeah,
toast.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And and him, he obviously, he had a lot of employees, a lot of responsibility, a lot going on.
Yeah.
He was constantly working, right? It was. I mean, he had to, right?
Yeah.
There was no choice. I mean, one of the diners, which was big, and again, 24 hours. I think like at max, he said like his staff was like 65
For one
place.
For one place.
Wow. Now, I mean, the other ones were a bit smaller than that. This one also.
But he
much
had
smaller
100
in
plus
size.
employees, probably.
100 plus people to manage.
Wow.
It's just really sort of.
Right.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and at that
That's a
point,
lot.
you're less of a chef, restaurateur, and you're more like HR.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. You're just sort of like fielding the complaints of the day, or
Complaints of
the issues
day,
of the
from
day.
the staff, from
right.
the customer.
Someone say, I got to leave early. I got a doctor's appointment.
Right.
That one's bothering me. I can't get along with this
Right.
one. I can't.
Right.
So you
Suppliers.
go. Yeah.
you got-
Yeah. Suppliers, accountant. You name it. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a. There's a lot of moving parts in this business. So I give him a lot of credit.
But it's very different. I mean, we're of a different generation now where back then it was give all of your job, whether you're self-employed or you're working for a company, you're there 40 years getting the gold watch, but you've got different hours here.
I do. And it's, so let me go back a couple minutes. I worked a couple years in finance in corporate. I worked for about 4 years, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was okay. It was fine. Is that okay? I worked. I worked a few years. I enjoyed it. Learned a lot, but I wasn't an office guy.
Yeah.
I just,
And that's extreme office when
That's
you're in
extreme
finance.
office. Yeah,
You're
it is. I was,
12 hours a day,
long hours,
Saturday,
the whole thing, right?
Sitting in front of one computer.
And I realized pretty quickly it wasn't what I wanted to do, but I did want to give it a chance.
Yeah, I mean that's
Right?
it. He was like, you've done it, you checked it off
So,
the
like,
box. There's
right.
no regrets.
So now, that really helps me a lot today
I
because
think so.
listen, I have a bad day, I have a bad week, I have a bad month here. I'm not questioning myself and saying, hey, you know what?
I wish I had
what
done
if I had tried a different career
Yeah,
path? Well,
so
I did.
smart. Yeah,
I
you
did,
did,
and
yeah.
and I don't really think back and regret and say, you know what? I should have stayed there. I have no regret about leaving that world.
Yeah.
Right? I learned a lot. It was great. Had some great experiences, but I'm so much happier now.
Yeah.
Now, to get back to your original point about how, times have changed. And, so I said to my dad years ago, I said, look, I want to come in. I want to do this. I said, but we have to do things a little differently. Not that I'm not committed to the business, not that I haven't, I put all my focus and time and effort into this place. But that doesn't mean that I need to work 16 hours a day, right? So the first thing we did was we stopped at 24 hours.
Okay. So
Right,
so Holiday Diner was 24
We were
hours.
24 hours up until 2011.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we stopped. And he, and I give my dad a lot of credit because as old school as he is, he always understood that there's a new way going forward, and that if you really want to last, you have to adapt.
You have to adapt.
Right? And he's been very open-minded and good. He doesn't agree with everything I do.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But he is, generally speaking, he's completely on board and he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing that I've done recently, which isn't so common in the diner world, is 3 days a week, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, I close at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
All the other days I'm open till 9 o'clock. Wednesday through Saturday, I stay open till 9.
But if you're looking at the bar, the club world, it's the same thing. I mean,
Same
some of them
thing.
aren't even open
Exactly.
on
Exactly.
Mondays,
So,
Sundays.
The diners did really well for a long time based on this open all hours, all-encompassing that business plan. It did really well.
Right.
But I think in today's world, I think we're afforded the luxury of being a little more streamlined, right? I think that it won't upset people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
People won't get upset. I don't have to offer 3 different kinds of steak or 4 different kinds of steak.
Yeah, I look at it like, the baby boomer generation, like the clutter. They had everything in the kitchen, and now it's more of like a minimalist design.
Absolutely.
We're like, all right, we had enough choice. We could buy 18 flavors of jam, but we only need 2 or 3. And maybe that's kind of just the new way. I mean, you look at an 18-page menu, you become overwhelmed. It's like refreshing to be like, all right, boom, boom, done.
I always thought that, like, the large menus, I think it just overwhelms people. And in my mind, like if I go to a place that has a big menu, me personally, I'll just say, all right, I'll just have a cheeseburger. Right? Because I mean, that's it's a safety for me. I don't want I don't really feel like
looking at it. Or you can ask the waitress, what do you recommend? What are your specials?
So no, but for me, if I go to a place with a smaller menu, I mean, in my mind, menu science is a real thing. There's a higher likelihood that I'm going to look over everything, right? And maybe get something. Hey, I'll try that this time, right? Yeah. And that's what I've done here. Much smaller menu. I mean, and again, we're focusing on doing it better, right? It's, and this might be a secret. It might not be a secret, but in order for diners or any restaurant to maintain a massive menu, they need big freezers, right? I mean, there's no way around it. There's no way around it. And
it ain't cheap and that's a lot of space.
That's a lot of space. And look, and if it's on your menu, you gotta have it, right? And that's a lot of things to maintain and keep on. And I never wanted to do that. And I'll be honest with you, I was really surprised when I approached my father about a 1-page menu, just a front and back menu. Mm-hmm. And he was like, absolutely.
Wow.
I was like, really?
I mean, that's not talking like a 50% chop. That's like a 90%.
Oh yeah, it was a big chop. Like I started. Again, I mean, I was in finance. I always appreciated numbers, right? Numbers tell you a lot. And if you're selling 2 or 3 a week, the numbers are telling you people don't really want it, right? And you're just sort of keeping it there because you're trying to maintain the diner thing.
So you're doing it for almost to keep up appearances in some respects.
Exactly. So it's like, to me, let's call it 8 years now. I've been on this mission. I'm just sort of tackling every item on the menu, right? Like where we used to buy a box pancake mix. Now we make fresh pancakes, buttermilk every day.
Wow.
But I'm able to do that now because I have so much less prep and other things that I need to worry about, right? So I can really focus on
so it's quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I can focus on like these 10 main things that I know people really want, and we can do them better. Right, and I think, and for us, it's working. It's people are happier with. I think that. Are you guys happier? I think people are happier.
I look at some of these menus, and I was just looking at one before coming here, and it's like they're a Starbucks, they're a smoothie shop, they're a steakhouse, and a seafood place all in one. And can you imagine walking into a Starbucks and saying, "I like a ribeye medium"?
Sure, I think that, again, in today's world, I think you're afforded the luxury of being a little more streamlined, right? I mean, but also, if I want a steak, me personally, if I want a steak, very unlikely I'm going to say, let's go to the diner.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to say, let's go to a steakhouse. If I want a chicken marsala, I'm going to say, let's go to an Italian place, right? Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that diners can't and don't do those things well.
Right.
But it's just not what people think of, right? And I think that you're creating a lot more work trying to convince people that you are good at doing it. Where really, if you just sort of step back and focus on what diners are known for, like breakfast clubs. Right.
You gotta have breakfast. Right. You gotta have burgers. So what are the staples? What do you have to have on the menu? And I know there isn't. This is a gray area.
Sure.
But
right. It's with.
All right. So a burger, I would say
100%.
Burger and breakfast all day.
Yes, breakfast all day is a thing. I would. Yeah.
That you wouldn't. I mean, even McDonald's is trying to do that now.
I would say the breakfast all day thing is really what would define a diner.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I think if it comes down to it, like breakfast, and breakfast means eggs, whether it means bacon and eggs Benedict, hash browns, pancakes, French toast, waffles, all that stuff. Burgers. Chicken. I sell a lot of chicken.
Okay.
A lot of chicken.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with chicken.
I think that diner salads are underrated.
Interesting.
I think that people don't give the salads and diners enough credit. I like our salad. You know, obviously I like our salads, but I've seen a lot of diners do really creative things, salad-wise.
Okay.
And you know, we do. I mean, we still do a few staple like meatloaf. That's a big thing. But my big thing now, the thing that I've sort of built up and is hopefully putting us on the map, is milkshakes.
Right. I had one the other night. The orange.
The orange cream.
That was good.
Yeah,
and I saw you had the Barbie milkshake.
We did a Barbie milkshake. So we do a Shake of the Month program, which has been really popular. People have really caught on to that, and that's our thing. And now I'm excited the warm weather's coming because we sell more shakes now.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll bring people in the door, and I have one to go. So that's an option too.
Absolutely.
So in terms of like, what's your to-go percentage versus like people sitting at the booth? Do you have your regulars? I know you got a counter right here.
Yeah. So we have our classic regulars, like every diner, like you see on Cheers.
Boom, $6.55.
Yeah, exactly. Guys are, those guys are great. I mean, those guys are the lifeblood that built diners to what they are today.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. To-go business, that post-COVID, that changed, I think, for a lot of people.
Okay.
And we're doing more.
More? Okay.
Yeah, for me, it's more.
Because you would think about, a diner's not really known for, it
Right.
does it, but it's not the first place you think of.
It's not the first place you think of. But I would say pre-COVID, maybe like 10 to 15% of my business was to go. Right now, I'm probably about a third.
Really?
Yeah, a third. We do a lot of
And that's pickup, or are you doing delivery
So
too?
I do delivery through the apps, through third-party Uber, DoorDash. I do have my own online ordering / delivery service that I do with my computer company, which is done by DoorDash. But most of it's pickup.
And what's how does that? I've heard not such great things for business owners doing the Uber Eats DoorDash thing. Has it worked for? You're using it, so.
So I don't do a ton, so it doesn't. Here's the thing: Uber and DoorDash allow you to offer delivery without staffing your own delivery people.
That's the
right.
thing. And as a delivery person, I've done it. Yeah,
right,
you're waiting around.
Exactly. So that's really what appeals to the restaurants. And look, let's be honest. There's something very convenient as a consumer, laying on your couch and saying, you know what, I want a milkshake and a cheeseburger club, right? And then in half an hour, it's at your door.
Right.
Now the hard part is that. And because they create such a convenience, they charge you for it, right? That's the thing. So it's thankfully it's not a huge part of my business, so I'm not too worried about it. Like I do try to push people to do our online ordering, but again, if that's what people want, and that's the way of the world. Uber and DoorDash are as busy as ever, right? They are. It's to me. I would say you should offer it. Right?
Also, I would imagine brings in new customers too.
It does. So it sort of gives you a bigger audience that you wouldn't normally have, right? Somebody goes if somebody's visiting town and they go on the app and they say, you know what, I want breakfast or I want a cheeseburger, and they go on and you pop up, right? So that sort of helps you to. It does give you a bigger audience, but again, you're paying for that. Right, that's the thing where a lot of the restaurants get caught up in.
I would imagine, yeah. I could see that. So we're talking about your regulars at 7 a.m. I had a friend that worked at a liquor store, and they sold cigarettes. And he said that I could be blindfolded. I could wake up in the middle of the day or night. I would know what time it is by the brand of cigarettes that people are buying. So do you sell certain things certain times of the day? You've got the different customer, younger,
Absolutely.
Older.
Oh yeah. So early in the morning, it's a lot of the guys go. Like I have a bunch of the city workers. They'll come in. I have a lot of blue collar guys, right? Still have that right there. They're coming. They're sitting on the counter in the morning, and it's funny you say that because the guys in the kitchen, even though they don't know the guy. Because they're in the back,
right?
Customers are in the front. They'll say, "Oh, is that the guy?" Because the same ticket at the same time every single day. They call me in the kitchen the other day because I put an order in, and he says to me, that sandwich is supposed to be on white toast, right? And I didn't say white toast. He goes, that one's supposed to be on white toast, right? I said, yeah. I said, good catch, because I said hard roll.
Oh.
And I was like, you know, I'm happy that they do that. But these guys, like, they can set their clock. It's like these guys are ordering the same thing every day, same time. It's just, again, that's part of the business, right?
Yeah.
These guys helped build the diners. They're like the lifeblood, like the establishment of what the diners are to get
and
them
you
where
can
they're
count on
them. Absolutely. Good times and bad. Yeah.
And so you have the late risers. You got your like 10:30 crowd.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
like,
got
all
them
right,
too.
you got the late risers, the early lunch.
Oh yeah, got all of them. Yeah. Yes.
And then when is lunch stop and when does dinner take over? And you know, you have that weird hour of like between 3 and 4 p.m. where it's like suppliers are coming in.
Yeah. Every restaurateur is trying to figure out how to build their business between 3 and 5, right?
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, bars. That's why bars do happy hour at that time, right?
There you go.
It's so I would say breakfast. I mean, again, breakfast all day, and we do sell it. We do serve it all day. You know, it's highest demand item in the place. But I would say breakfast stops around 11:30, and then lunch we'll get into about 2-3 o'clock, and then dinner after 4 o'clock, right?
After 4,
that
okay.
run
So
there,
you got
yeah.
the early birds.
Oh, you get some early birds. Oh, yeah, you get some early birds. I personally can't eat dinner at 4 o'clock, but some of these people do. Some people do.
Hey,
I have this group chat with these guys. So it's funny because we're all sons of diner owners.
Okay.
Right. And I mean, and it really is a great resource to have because you have.
Sure.
I talk to guys that are
it's
living
like
the
the Greek
same.
Council. It's like the
yeah.
Illuminati of diner owners.
We actually call ourselves the confessional.
The confessional.
Yeah, but we, you know, it's these guys are great because you're talking to guys that are living the exact same life as you are, right? And, you know, and we all have the same issues, and we talk about it all the time. We're like, it's 3 to 5 o'clock. We got nothing to do, right? Because again, it's a slow time for everybody. But those guys, I mean, you know, to touch on that, that's really great for me to have, right? To have these guys that I can talk to that. Again, we're all living the same life. We're all doing the same thing. We're all
How
battling.
many people are on the group
There's
text?
4 guys.
4, okay.
Total. And they own diners, and, you know, one guy has a couple Greek places, but, you know, we're all living the same life. We're all doing the same thing, and we can relate. You know, and for me, these guys, they tend to have bigger they have bigger places than I do, bigger, busier places than me. So for me, it's really cool to talk to these guys because I feel like I can learn a lot, right?
Sure.
Like they have,
because what you're seeing and may have it 3 times.
that's what I'm saying. So I'm talking to these guys, and I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing for this? And these guys are, you know, they're pretty smart. They're pretty ahead of the game. So it's nice. It's a good little resource for me to have.
So you mentioned the problem of 3 to 5, and it's dead. What else is on there? What are kind of the headaches? And
it's, I don't know. It's an odd hour, right? It's no one's like we just said. I can't eat dinner at 4 o'clock, right?
Right.
You know, it's typically during that time. You get a couple people coming in again if they're having a late lunch, or we get a lot of people coming out of the courthouse. So typically we'll get people. You know, if they're stuck there, they won't let them out.
Can you
for
tell
lunch.
who's winning the case versus losing the case, or just lost, or just won?
One interesting thing about being down the street from the courthouse is they'll all come in around 1 o'clock, right? And then they'll all say to me, I really got to go because we got to be back by 2. I'm like, I know, everybody does. I know. Everybody that's got to go to court, I know you got to be back by 2 o'clock. And the other thing is, so I guess there's like legal things with people on opposite sides of the case. So people will come in. So people on opposing sides of a case will both happen to come in for lunch, right?
Both parties will come in here.
And they're like, oh, we can't sit over there. We have to sit on the opposite side. So I guess there's like legal.
It's better for everybody.
It's better
legal
for everybody.
And just for
They're like, we're going to go sit on that.
Yeah.
So like, I'll go sit somebody in the dining room and be like, oh, I can't sit there. And they'll say, I got to go sit on the other side. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, like, okay, so I've ran into that numerous times.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you ever see them come back after the case is settled? Like, and they're like, we won.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll, I've actually had a lot of them come back for like celebratory milkshakes, believe it or not. Like if they win the case.
The celebratory milkshake.
Celebratory milkshake. Sometimes they come for Bloody Marys, though. Sometimes.
Now, you could have lost and get a Bloody Mary, or won and get a Bloody Mary.
It depends, right. Yeah.
And you're not too far from the ice rink here, the ice arena.
So we're located. I always thought we had a pretty good spot. I have the ice arena right there. Naugatuck Valley Community College is right there. Courthouse right across the street there. Wow. WestCon a block away.
And that's Western Connecticut State University.
Correct, Western Connecticut State University, and then Danbury Hospital is right up the street. So we're in a pretty good spot here. It's a lot of traffic. lot goes on during the day. You know,
Yes, you got good frontage. I can get rid of this tow truck over here.
These guys. I think he knows we close a little early on Monday, so they park here. So it's all good.
The hospital. I met my youngest son was born at Danbury Hospital.
Oh, nice.
My older was born in the city, and it was a little bit more of a process. So we ended up going. We were in a diner, kind of killing time.
Trying to kill time. Yeah.
So that's a happy time.
That is a happy
you
time.
have people obviously in the hospital for mostly unhappy
circumstances.
But hey, if they can come here and they have good food, and they don't have to think about it.
Yeah, we have a pretty good relationship with the hospital. A lot of the nurses, they'll call in probably about once a week. They call in again from different departments. They'll call in pretty good size orders. So it's good. Good place to have a good relationship with.
I mean, your job is it's part being a chef, part being a business owner, a restaurateur.
Sure.
What's the breakdown? What do you like best?
So I spend the majority of my time out front, right? It's I'm big on. Not that I want people to look at me, but I think that there needs to be a face.
Somebody
there needs to be somebody, the representative of the business, and and the truth is, people want to see you, right? People want to talk to you, and there you go, people, and I think people feel comfortable when they see you, So I've been asked a couple times. Well, my dad's been asked because he knows more than I do, but it's what's the key to success in the restaurant business, right? And it's a mix, and I would say you can narrow it down to three things, and one is obviously good food.
Sure.
2 is a clean establishment, and 3, which I think is the most important, is good service and making people comfortable, right? Because I think if the food is good, but they're not comfortable,
true,
then it's not, they left uncomfortable, right? So there's something that they weren't happy about or whatever it is. But I think that in this day and age, and I hate to sound so pessimistic, but service is just not good in a lot of places, right? You go places and people just don't have the willingness or care enough to just sort of take a little extra, right, to make you
and
make
it's
you
hard
happy,
too,
right?
because the staffing issues have been a thing.
I get it, right? Staffing issues are a thing for everybody.
Yeah.
But, we do get complimented a lot on the service, right? And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back, but, I strive for that. I push for that. I mean, I'm big on that with my, with the front of house staff.
Sure.
And I think that, again, if people are comfortable, let's say they have a bad meal, right? Again, we're not okay with bad meals, but if they have a bad meal, but you handle it properly,
right,
there's a good likelihood that they're still going to come back.
Oh, definitely. I mean, even more so sometimes,
right?
Because you take
absolutely,
care of the
because you take care of it. Say,
right.
Look, I'm really sorry. We're not perfect. Right. We make mistakes, right? We undercook things. We put cheese on things that shouldn't have cheese, and we're not perfect, but handled properly, they'll come back, right? I mean, I think they value somebody that cares, right? And I went to. Maybe this is a bad example, but I went to a big box store recently, right? And I had to buy something, and it wasn't on the shelf, and I went to ask somebody, and it's just this whole ongoing thing. I'm like, well, that's not my job, and I gotta find. Let me find the guy. They're doing me a favor. I'm like, I just gotta go. All I want is to. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm not asking for a discount. I'm not asking for anything. I'm just asking to buy the thing that I'm here for because I have to go.
Right.
And nobody cares.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying I need to be brought to the front of the line. I'm not saying I need special treatment. I just want but a little recognition, a little care goes a long way.
Sure.
Right? And to me, I've always been big on service personally. If I go to restaurants all the time. I enjoy eating out. I like to go places and eat. Maybe I pick up an idea for here, something that I never really thought of. And I can forgive a bad meal, no problem. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to forgive bad service.
I'm with you there. And I spent some time in the service industry, whether it's waiting tables or as a golf caddy. Sure. And it's one thing to screw up, and that's all right. Everybody screws up, but it's not caring
that you screwed up, right? And I think that's where people get upset. I mean, it's people. I try to look at it very simply, right? I mean, if people are coming here to spend money, you have to show some appreciation.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You gotta take more than you give, right? People are going to say things you don't like. They say things I don't like all the time, right? I mean, what am I going to do? Get mad every time someone says something I don't like, right?
Yeah.
My skin, my skin is thick, right?
Yes.
I can take it, but I think that again, that's what's missing, right? Like and again, I hate to sound so pessimistic, but it's like.
Well, maybe
Service
that's where
is
you're
not
a
good.
source of optimism. Where
Right.
you're a source of, doing it differently.
Yeah, I guess. Hopefully, right? But it's, I think that offering good service is so valuable.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? And I think people generally appreciate it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's so many, chain restaurants of all kinds, faceless, and you know
sure.
what you're gonna get,
Right.
but
Right.
You're another number,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
of the billions and billions.
They don't
served.
exceed your
Right.
expectations, right? And that's
Yeah. And I mean, that's the interesting thing. I was thinking about it. I mean, all right, so you have like Waffle House down south, you have IHOP, but you don't really have those around here.
Correct.
In a great extent, and I guess it's because of the diner culture that we've got in the tri-state area. I mean, am I making sense?
Absolutely. Diners, tri-state area, right? For sure. I think there's an IHOP here.
Is there?
Yeah, but there's not. I mean, again, not like you see. I get a lot of people. They've retired. They go down to Florida, South Carolina,
they got their
whatever,
South Carolina,
right?
yeah.
And then they come back, and they're always saying to me like, "Oh, it's so nice to eat like a good regular breakfast."
Really?
Because they'll say to me, "Yeah, like down there, it's all." Like
I mean,
IHOP
this is
and
definitely
Waffle
a
House.
step up.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
And it's
in many respects.
and I mean, I would say that that has to be it because there's something about diners in this tri-state culture, right? This New
Pretty
England
much.
culture.
I mean, where do they extend? I mean, what's the geography? Up to like into Massachusetts, maybe out to like Eastern PA.
So
like,
Eastern PA has a good amount of diners.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe halfway through Mass, and then if we're going south, I'd say till about Maryland.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a pretty good amount of diners
All
in
right.
Maryland.
So as far as
But then
South
after
Jersey,
that,
then you're done. All right.
Jersey's like
The Mecca.
the Mecca of diners. Right? It's funny because we look at. I feel like Connecticut diners have always sort of been looked at like as the little brother, like compared to like New Jersey. Every diner in New Jersey seats like 300 people, and they're monsters, and they're 24 hours, and they're just, it's just like it's on another level there. And the same on Long Island.
Interesting.
Like those are known as big.
Those are the spots.
Big
okay.
diners.
I mean, they're so suburban those areas too.
Yes. But Connecticut, I'd say, has always sort of been on. I mean, again, people know Connecticut diners, but we've always sort of been like the little brother, I think, compared to them.
And so, and you were talking about staff earlier, and your dad had 65 at one restaurant. You're talking about some of your friends, same level. What's it like to staff here? You've got the front of the house, the back of the house. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So that is, I currently have 13, 14 is the total number, which is manageable.
Right.
And I got to say one thing, I'm very, very fortunate when it comes to staff.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of restaurants, diners, food service in general, turnover is very high.
Right.
I think my average employee, I did the math on this like 6 months ago. Like my average employee, I think, has been here 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had one actually problem that I've had is I have people retire.
Oh.
And then I can't find people to fill their spots.
Right.
So I had around COVID, I had one guy that was with us for 17 years. He retired. Mm-hmm. Then another guy that was with us for, I think 18, actually, and he retired.
Okay.
But I've got front of house people. I have one of them's been here for 10, one for 11, and one for 12. One of the guys in the kitchen, he's been here almost 20.
Wow.
One of the other guys, he's been here, I think, 10. And I have this one lady. Her name's Sharon. She's the best. She was actually been at this diner for 45 years.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
So
I was going to ask if anybody predated.
So she worked for the previous owner for 20 years.
Wow.
And then when my dad bought it, he was like, yeah, I want you to stay on. Because she was, people love her.
Right.
She's got an eccentric
personality.
Front of house.
Okay.
Yeah. A very eccentric personality, but people love her. Her name's Sharon. She is
All right, Sharon.
She is like one of the gems of this place. I mean, she's getting a little older now, so she's not working as much.
Sure.
But she's still working 1 or 2 nights a week.
Oh, that's great. What are her nights?
She works Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Saturdays makes sense.
Yeah.
She's no dummy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's the best. She's been here a long time. Yeah, I think she beats everybody. She's like 45 years.
Yeah, well, and in age too.
Yeah,
so.
right.
So I mean, what's your secret? Because that has been such an issue with, like, particularly like post-pandemic, is you can't find staff and everybody's complaining about. But obviously, you're doing something right, and maybe they're not doing that. I don't know.
I think staffing is a two-way street.
Yeah.
Right. It's my job to create an environment that's conducive to them to make money. Right. I mean, because look, let's be honest. Nobody's here for fun. Right. Nobody's here for their health. Yeah. Right. I mean, they're here because
paycheck.
Paycheck. Right. So I've always, and it's always been important to me, again, to create an environment that makes them money. Mm-hmm. Right. Because if that's the case, I mean, they'll come back. Right. And I think I've done a pretty decent job of it. And I think it's, recognizing, what they do well, right? I mean, it's, bonuses occasionally, right? I mean, I'm being honest, right? I mean, like, that's gotta help. And listen, I'm not perfect, right? I still get upset about certain things. I have things that I'm passionate about, right? Look, we have good days and bad days, right? Yeah. But they're committed to the cause, and that, I mean, it's really important to me, right? Because this is my, it's my baby too, right? Like, I love this place, and they really are committed to the cause, and they show passion, right? They get upset if they make a mistake, and there's a level of commitment that they all have. I mean, again, everybody's afforded a bad day, right? But I'm past the point for a lot of them, for most of them, but questioning their commitment, because I can say, look, they've been here for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. They're committed. Yeah. Right? Like, they're not here for 6 months and then they leave and then they come back, which I know that happens in a lot of places. I mean, I can no longer question the commitment, right? Now, it's my job to create this environment that works for them, right? Make sure it's not as high stress as is for me, for them, right? I mean,
and a lot of that is the owner. I mean, some people can just be, too high stress, too on the back, and
absolutely. And it's again, I pride myself on creating that environment, right? I listen to them, right? I do my best to handle complaints. I try to say yes to everything. I really do. Right? I mean, I can't say yes to everything, but I tell them all the time, it's my goal to say yes. If you want something, if you need something, you need a day off, you need a vacation, whatever it is, it's my goal to say yes. But in order for me to say yes, we've got to meet halfway.
Fair enough.
Right? We've got to meet halfway.
Fair enough.
Right? And it's and they've all really bought into it. And put it this way: if I shut this place down tomorrow and I went and opened another diner, they're all coming with me.
Wow.
They're all coming with me. Everybody.
Have you thought about it? I mean, I'm sure you've thought about it. Where are you right now in terms of the business? And are you good with one location? And maybe as the family gets older, what are your thoughts?
So I am, I'd be lying if I said I'm not always looking. Yeah. Right? Because, there's always, I'm confident in what I do here. Mm-hmm. I think that I could, if the right opportunity came along, I could do it, replicate it in another spot. But, again, to get back to what we talked about before about my father. So that's...
You've seen it.
I've seen it, right? I've seen it. And, I recently made the change to my hours, right, on Mondays and Tuesdays where I close early. Because I said to myself, okay, my kids are 5, 4, and 2.
And they're never going to be that age again.
And they're never going to be that age again. Yep. And I asked myself, what do you, what's the goal here? And really, like, I determined that I'm not going to live a life where me seeing my kids is a secondary thing. Right? And I was like, that's it. And I'm making decisions based off of that. Now, if I open a second place, it's not going to help that cause. Right? Again, am I, open to the opportunity? Sure. Yeah. Right? And it's, I think the right opportunity may come along one day. But for right now, I'm good with one.
So, and I mean, it's amazing being self-employed. You don't have a boss,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then again, you've got the customers too.
Sure.
So how? I mean, I guess it's because you've done the bossing. You said you
Sure.
worked in finance.
Right,
And,
right.
I mean, you've got all your customers, which is almost like a collection. It's like
Sure.
it's like you're an elected official, and you have
Yeah, right.
10,000 people voted you,
That's right.
and not if one of them switches sides and drops out, you're all
Right.
right, but you don't
Yeah.
want too many.
You
of
don't
them,
want
so.
too many switching out, right? Yeah, that's true. It's I think being your own boss. I mean, look, let's be honest. I mean, I'm my own boss because it's my dad's place, right?
Okay.
But I mean, I think I've taken on the responsibility pretty well,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, it's we're still going, we're busy.
Great.
We're not in a tough spot. I mean, look, it's a tough time right now for a lot of restaurants. We're not in a tough spot.
That's good to hear.
So it's I think I've done a pretty good job with that. But again, being your own boss is
That's a good and bad.
there's a good and bad thing. If I say, you know what, I don't feel like being here today, I want to go home and lay on my couch, I can technically, but does it really do you any good? Probably not.
No, you're
right?
thinking
Like
about
you're
what
thinking
you're
about what you're doing, right?
right.
So it's I do take my customers seriously, right? Like and I think that their happiness and their ultimate feelings about your place are going to ultimately dictate your success.
Yeah, word of mouth. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's so important. I mean, we got Instagram, we got all the social media, but I feel like word of mouth is like even more important now.
I agree 100%. Like I'm big on Instagram, right? I've adapted technology into every part of my life, and I get how SEO ads work, and I know how all that works.
Yeah.
But I still believe, just like you said, word of mouth is still number one.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, because people will, we'll have friends tell us, "Oh, we tried this place; it was really good." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go."
Yeah, well,
I'll go check. That's all I need to hear. I'm gonna go. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, any restaurant, it's always my number one thing is, would you go back?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so, you talked about some customer complaints. What are like the big complaints? Not necessarily about
Sure.
the holiday diner, but just
Sure.
in the business. Like, what do you see you're fielding, and it's just like it's never going to go away.
I-
It's just the nature of the game.
That's a good question. I've heard a lot. One recent complaint is the hours, right? Some guys will say, you know what, I wanted to come on Tuesday, and
Right,
you
yeah.
weren't there. And okay, I mean, I do. I don't brush those off, but I'm like, well, you know what? Like, I'm also here like another 95 hours a week. So,
Yeah, right,
So
right.
you
You don't
come
feel
for
so
that,
bad,
right?
right.
It's this is going to be like I hope I don't sound a certain kind of way when I say this, but I'm big on like the presentation of the plates and the way things come out of the kitchen, and really, listening to the details of what the customers want, right? So I sort of have like a system of checks, right? Where I have expediters and everything else that everyone's checking the dish a couple times before
Wow.
it goes out, right? And so we try to like not get a complaint, right? But yeah, it's again, it's inevitable, right? It's
course.
you overcook
Human
my
nature,
you overcook my
working with
burger, you
people,
undercook my burger,
Right.
I had one yesterday. We put cheese on something I shouldn't have had cheese. The coffee's cold. It's a lot. I've had complaints where I don't like the shape of the ice cubes.
There you go.
I had that one. I've had
Wow.
the
What are the? Wait, they're just a regular.
they're just regular ice
Just
cubes.
regular
Yeah,
ice
yeah,
cubes.
it's,
I mean, they had the fancy cocktail. You
yeah,
know, you get the
right,
cube,
like
you
the
get
cube with the sphere,
circle.
right? Yeah,
I
I'm not there yet.
Yeah, you don't make your own ice.
I don't
here.
make
Yeah,
I
come
have
on.
an ice machine downstairs.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
like this is a dime, not a fancy cocktail
Yeah, it's,
bar.
But it's, people are generally very supportive. It's and that like I can probably tell you that I recognize like 80% of the people that walk through the door.
Wow.
And I've seen them before.
Right.
I mean, again, repeat business is
That's
big.
great. I mean, that's
It's big,
great.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm constantly working on new traffic, which is another big thing in this business. But repeat is big, and I'm thankful for that. People have bought into what we're doing, right? It's again, it's a little bit of a new way for diners, right? It's not the diner in a traditional sense, but I think people have adapted really well, and there's big support behind it. And I'm thankful for that.
So, I mean, diners, I was just thinking about how they've evolved over the years.
Sure.
And, I remember going, I talked from Mount Kisco to the Mount Kisco
Yeah.
diner there, and they used to have, this was every diner had the mints. Remember the bowl with the white, like,
That was
pillow
a casualty
shape,
of COVID
mints
here.
in it, and then you have, like, the
Yeah.
spoon.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad saying, like, everybody puts their fingers in there. And then they had the mint dispensers,
Yeah,
and you,
yeah.
like, press the button, and the mint would pop
Yeah.
out. And then I guess
Yeah.
COVID just kind of...
COVID put all the mint business out.
So no more mints.
No
in the
more
diner.
mints. No
I
more
mean,
mints.
what else have you seen that at the diner has evolved and certain things have just kind of disappeared off the map? Some of them probably for the best.
Sure. I mean, it's a lot of the again, it seems to me that most diners are buying into this less is more idea, right? Especially with the menus. Right? I mean, food cost is high at the moment.
Right.
Right. And I think COVID helped move that along a little faster. Right. So, I mean, I'll give you an example. For me, so you have certain items on your menu. And, when you're pricing things, like a lot of times you would say, you know what, that seems a little expensive. So you don't price things properly, right? You keep them a little bit lower just to sort of keep it on the menu and keep a few people happy. But really with COVID, I said to myself, well, if it's not going to be profitable on its own and it's not going to move organically, it's got to go.
Yeah.
Right? It's got to go. It's not part of the model. And I think that a lot of diners have bought into that now.
Okay.
I mean, look, diners sort of, when diners started, whatever, I don't know, probably this diner, in 1947 when it first opened, I'm pretty sure the menu was very small.
I bet, yeah.
Right? Very small. And then somehow, over time, it became what diners are. I know diners that serve pizza.
Right. No need.
Right. No need whatsoever.
Right.
Right. And it just sort of it just hit this.
It's like it becomes a reactionary
Yes.
to the, it's almost like pant legs. Everybody kind of do the skinny jeans these days.
Sure.
Before that, it was like the wide leg. And then,
Yes.
we'll be back to
Yeah.
bootleg at some points.
Right.
But
Right.
it is an ebb
Right.
and flow. And,
But again, that business model for diners, again, it's not where I want to be, but that doesn't necessarily mean to say that I'm right and it was never right. I mean, it worked for a lot of guys
exactly
for a long
yeah.
time.
I mean, and it's the flavor of,
Right.
the times.
I don't want to make it sound like I'm, saying that all the guys, what they did before me, they didn't know what they were doing. I mean, look, it worked,
at the time.
and it worked
Yeah.
really well, right?
Right.
You're 24 hours, and you tried to be this all-encompassing culinary stop.
Right.
But that's not I don't think. I would say that newer generations are not looking for that, right? And I would say that it's doing less, doing it better, is really the way forward.
Yeah.
Right? And I think people do appreciate that.
I mean, you talked about complaints. I mean, have you gotten complaints what happened to the ribeye steak?
Sure, I'll get them occasionally. I actually had a guy walk out.
Wow.
This had to be 6-8 months ago. But he said that my menu was too small.
Wow.
And he didn't really find anything that suited him.
Okay.
I said, okay, it's.
What are you gonna do?
I think there's enough, but it's but again, I think this is probably a guy from a generation who's used to the larger menus, right? And just again, it's. I'm not saying that what I'm doing works for everybody.
That might be exactly it. You're saying to yourself, I don't have that many people complaining about not carrying. That's exactly why I'm not carrying it. Because
exactly.
Nobody's complaining about it because they've, it's amazing what you forget about. It's like my kids' toys. I take them, I put them in the basement for a couple weeks, and if they forget about them, then then the next step is, and 99% of the time, it's away. They out of sight, out of mind. They'll never think about it again. I do keep it for that one.
Just in case. Right? Just
what happened to that?
My wife and I always joke that my kids always forget they had a toy until somebody else picks it up.
Oh, that's exactly it. Right. So what is what do you think is your competition? Is it other diners? Is it people that are saying I want to do Italian? What?
Well, to get back, we touched on this a little bit before, right? Diners are breakfast all day. I would say that. Sorry, I would say that breakfast has the least competition.
Really?
Right. So I mean, we're competing with the Dunkin' Donuts of the world and Starbucks and that, but there aren't too many sit down breakfast places, right? So that's where diners, again, in this area, really have a stronghold on that business. Now lunches, now we start getting into fast food places and
Gotcha.
delis and everything else. And then the most competition is dinner.
Sure.
That is, and the truth is that dinner has, most people that are coming to the diner for dinner are either getting breakfast or a cheeseburger.
Really?
Right? Yeah, like that's
Wow.
it's
Okay.
not like, again, like I've cut my dinners back a little bit.
Because you know what works.
Because I know what works, right?
right.
But it's, that's, and I would say competition. Yeah, I would say other diners, but I'd say in a city like Danbury, there's enough people for all of us to get a cut. Right? I mean, if that makes any sense, right? There's enough people in this city for us to split the pie.
Sure.
It's, I'd say there's a good amount of diners around here.
Yeah.
But it's not, and I'd say, we're all competition to a varying degree.
Right.
But, there's enough out there.
And diners are known for their efficiency, and you talked about your checklist. Well, what are some tricks of the trade of just getting things out fast in a timely manner? And I imagine having a smaller menu helps.
Big time. It's so again, we are focused on doing things fresh, and but I mean, like we do, like before we launch anything or try anything new or change something, the turnaround time, the ticket time is a big deal for us, right?
Gotcha.
So we say, like, if this is going to take 17 minutes, then it's not going to work, right? So that's a big thing, and it's, again, eggs typically cook
Super fast,
right?
Yeah.
So, like, I try to keep my goal, like, at my busiest point, which is like a Sunday morning at like 10 a.m., my goal is for my ticket times to be no longer than 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're pretty good on that. Like, I mean, occasionally they'll hit a little longer, but it's, that's what we try to do. We try to, a good prep is paramount, right? But what I don't want to do is over prep to a point that things are pre-cooked.
Sure.
Right?
Pre-cooked,
So
going back.
it does, and I think people really do understand that. Like, I mean, we're not fast food. We try to be fast, but we're not fast food. So I mean, we are
It's
still
made to order.
Cooking it to order. So that is, I try to toe that line as closely as I can, right? And I think people do. I think people appreciate freshness, right? I mean, again,
Of course,
done quick. I mean, you don't want to wait 25 minutes for an omelet, right? But I think people do appreciate the effort to be fresh.
And so you open at 7. What time is the staff arriving in order to prep and get everything prepared?
Oh, usually first people, who's ever opening, whether it's me or a couple other people and the guys in the back, we're usually here about 6:15.
That's not
so
too
it's
bad.
not too bad. It's again, having a smaller menu helps.
Right.
It helps all of that. You usually, we start getting phone, a couple guys sandwiches to go, but usually like 6:45, people start coming in.
Okay.
Yeah. So
even before you get the early birds.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got some early birds, man.
All right. That's a little secret out there. It's 6:45,
I got one guy.
You can slide in.
Sometimes he's waiting for me when I get here. So I'm like,
Oh,
dude,
boy.
I'm like, dude, it's 10 after 6.
15 minutes early.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I'm like, dude, you gotta give me.
Come on.
I'm like, you gotta give me a couple minutes here.
You burn some gas in your car.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the guest. That's the house guest that arrives too early.
Too
It's
early.
like,
Too early.
It's rude to be really late, but it's also rude to
be
be too
really
early.
right? Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I'm trying to think. And at home. So, what are your favorite foods when you're not eating at a diner? Like, or do you try to do something completely different, or you're like doing a little research and saying, "Let me try a burger here."
Sure. So I do. I enjoy. That's one of my personal vices. Like, I enjoy eating out.
Well,
like,
that's
I enjoy,
good to hear.
Right? I enjoy eating out. I enjoy trying different things. I like. The truth is, a lot of it for me is kind of like recon, right? I go to different places and I say, well, can I pick up an idea from here? Can I pick up an idea from there?
Right. Does it drive your family crazy a little bit sometimes?
Sometimes. My wife's favorite line is, "Let me guess, you don't like the coffee." And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But I like pizza.
Okay.
I do enjoy pizza.
There you go.
Big burger guy. I like burgers.
Right.
I could eat ice cream 7 days a
Well,
week.
I mean, you and everybody else,
right?
Yeah.
And I enjoy a good Italian meal, right? I don't know. I'm pretty I like to think I'm pretty eclectic. Right?
Okay.
I could eat whatever.
Right.
But, adapt to wherever I'm going. But
So tell us
Yeah.
about the coffee. What makes a good coffee? What makes? I mean, because diner coffee. I mean,
Yeah.
that's half the game.
That's
almost.
half the game right there. I mean, lately I'm on a big cappuccino kick.
Oh, okay.
I drink I think like 2 cappuccinos a day. But I mean, I enjoy a stronger coffee.
And
right?
you serve cappuccino. Oh, I
Yes,
see
we
you
do.
got
Yeah,
the espresso
I got the
machine.
espresso
Okay.
machine. Yeah, that's been pretty popular. I tend to be on the stronger side for coffee. So a lot in a lot of the diners and sort of like your general service coffee,
It's pretty weak.
a little bit on the weaker side.
Right.
I mean, again, from a business standpoint, it makes sense. Right?
Less beans.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
right,
like, oh,
right,
I reduced the
right,
beans
right.
by.
Right. But I'm cappuccino. I'm big on cappuccino lately.
Yeah,
That's
well,
my thing.
I remember the story of British Airways. It was, I forget, 10, 20 years ago. They saved like $40,000 a year by serving one less olive in the first class.
Did they
salad.
really?
Yeah. and I'm not getting the
I love
story
weird stuff
100%
like that,
right,
yeah.
but that's absolutely true. It was
I
one less
love stuff
olive.
like
so,
that.
I mean, I
That's
could
it.
see
Yeah,
somebody.
sure.
But that's the point where, I mean, this isn't just a business.
Right.
You know, you're not a CPA.
Right,
It's,
right.
You're providing an experience, and at what point do you have, restaurateurs are too much into the money, and it sacrifices quality.
Sure.
You know, you've got to.
I mean, and this is going to sound like a very politically correct thing to say, but I am a firm believer that if you do what's right for your guest, for your customer, and give them the proper quality and all that, then ultimately, in the end, you will win.
Definitely, it's a
You
long
will
game.
win.
It's
right?
a long game, right?
You will win. Now, it is hard sometimes, right? Because you're looking at all the money you're spending.
Right.
Like you
Day
brought,
to day, it's hard.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard, right? Because this costs money and this costs money, and
Right. But
But like and I'll go into my walk-in box sometimes, right? And I'll go into the basement and I'll just see things that are sitting there. And to me, I say,
Right.
well, that's
You're
money.
like, that's money.
That's money
priced
sitting
in
right.
dollar signs.
That's money that's sitting there, right?
Yeah.
So I do make I will cut certain small things out, right? But it's a fine line, right? Because you don't want to take away too much,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example here, but you say you go to Home Depot, right? And they say, well, the plywood's $5 cheaper this week. Well, it's probably crappier plywood,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so that's not what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give worse and charge less.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? And it's excuse me. So it's a fine line. I think that it's important for me, especially, right, to maintain a certain level of quality, because I think people do recognize it.
Yeah.
Right. They'll recognize it and they will appreciate it, and in the end, they will pay for it. Right. It's So
Sure,
if I say to myself, you know what, 10 less beans in the coffee. Right, but then ultimately people say, you know what, the coffee's
weak.
The
Yeah, you
coffee's
squeeze
weak.
somebody
right?
and
so,
make an extra
So now what? I
quarter,
made
and then they don't come
$2
back.
there, but
Right.
but
They
now
don't come back.
5 people stopped ordering coffee. So now what did
right.
I ultimately win?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right, I lost. Right.
Right. I mean, that's the other thing, though, is when you got weak coffee and you're like, can I have a third cup?
Right.
And then you end up getting, one way or the other, then the wait staff has got to come by and
Right.
make that third coffee.
Exactly,
Then you've got the
exactly.
sugar. Then you've got the creamer.
Actually,
So
just
you
add
kind of
coffee.
don't.
You know, man, you should open a
No,
restaurant.
thank you.
Yeah.
I love eating in restaurants.
That's
I'm not cut out.
Yeah.
Not cut out for it.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of it is. I mean, understanding your expenses is part of the business.
Sure,
right?
of
It's,
course,
you
yeah.
know, it's. I would love to buy things in bulk, right? But I think it's pretty hard to buy, lettuce for 2 months ahead of time.
Yeah,
Right? You can't do that. Right? You can't do that.
No,
Right? You can't do that.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
So when you're the host, you're in front of the house all the time. Do you feel like sometimes you're stepping on stage, because we all have our bad days.
Sure,
And we don't want to
sure.
be at work, and
Sure.
are you able to compartmentalize? You kind of walk through the door and you're like, all right, I'm George.
It's funny you say that, because a lady said to me today, "You look like you're having a bad day."
Really? So maybe you're
I
not.
said,
Maybe that's something you saw.
And I always thought I was pretty good at, again, like you said, when I'm here, the lights are on.
But
right?
but is this person a regular?
Yes.
All right,
yeah.
well,
Right.
They know your baseline.
So they know, they know the
All
baseline.
right, fair
right.
enough. All right.
But I mean, again, nobody wants to go to a place, and the diners, I feel like, were famous for this years ago, where you just kind of walk in, and there's a guy standing at the register, and he's just not smiling, very monotone. He's
Right.
like, "How many? How many? Come this way." Right? It's not like people want. Look, being in this business, I think I'm pretty good at reading people, right? And within a couple seconds, I can figure out whether you're the kind of person that wouldn't mind a joke or whether you're the kind of person like, you know what, just seat me at my table. Right.
Okay.
And I think I've gotten pretty good at that. And I think I'm able to read that in a person. And that's important, right? Because, a lot of guys having a bad day, doesn't really want to talk. You can sort of tell. So I just kind of like seat them. Hey, you go, grab a seat. They'll be right with you, right? And some people like I'm a pretty vocal guy. I like to talk to people. I crack some jokes and do all that stuff. And I think people, it makes people comfortable. That's part of the comfort thing that I was talking about, right? Like making people feel appreciated and comfortable. But yeah, you're right. It's sort of like because all eyes are kind of on you, right? Like especially if there's a problem. Right?
It's all on you.
It's all on you, like, right? People, people are coming to you for a solution, for an answer, right? And admittedly, I don't always handle them the right way. I've made my mistakes, and I've done things I shouldn't have. But I think, in the end, again, keep the customer's best interest in mind, and then I feel like that'll help make your decision process.
Yeah, I mean that's it. It's just kind of this way of thinking,
Absolutely.
way of being, and you kind of have that as your North Star. It works in most situations, I guess. Yeah, you ever have to kick anybody out?
I have occasionally. It's thankfully it's few and far between. But I'll tell you, when my dad bought this diner, it was kind of a seedy place.
Really?
Oh yeah, my dad spent like the first 2 months kicking every other guy out. Like it was a place where kind of like a lot of homeless guys were hanging out, and it was kind of had a tough reputation. But my dad did a really good job of cleaning it up.
Wow.
And, people will still come. A lot of those morning counter guys, right? They'll say to me, "Man, I remember this place 30 years ago."
Sure.
Right? There's it's a lot different now.
Yeah.
But good, like thankfully so, right? It's but I don't really have to anymore. I mean, again, it happens once in a while.
I'm sure alcohol is usually involved. I mean, you don't have the late hours. You don't have the late hours.
So that's the
24/7 is
That's where you had a lot of that stuff. But again, like it's we've shortened our hours, taken a lot of that stuff sort of out of play, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. So what's next for? I mean, what you got? You got spring, summer coming up. Like, what are you thinking for the menu? Do you do seasonal changes?
I try to keep things as we get into the spring now, summer, the warmer months. A couple new salads. I'm trying to get something going there. Shakes. I'm trying to really push the.
You got the shakes. All right.
That's the thing. So again, this is kind of like a little restaurant insight, I guess. But restaurants make a lot of money on alcohol. Right. Like they're.
No
the
surprise
markups on there. No surprise. Right? Excuse me. Their markups are big there. Now, the truth is, I sell alcohol. I don't do a big business of it.
I mean, that's a weird thing about diners is maybe once I've gotten a beer at a diner.
Has anyone ever said
even cross your mind?
Has anyone ever said meet me at the diner for a beer? No. No, exactly. But I mean, again, it's the big weekend breakfast business, the brunch business.
That's a thing now.
Bloody Marys, mimosas, that certainly helps, right? It's but the what I lack in alcohol sales, I try to make up with milkshake sales. Right? It's it's that extra at the end, right? It's that, that second drink that, a lot of restaurants are looking for, that second glass of wine, second bottle of wine or whatever, but you guys came the other night, right? You ate, and then in the end,
I was like, I have a milkshake.
I have a milkshake. There you go. So for me, like that,
you can't have a second burger, but you can have a milkshake on top of the burger.
Exactly. Right. So that's what really sort of helps me to make up that. What I don't do in alcohol, I try to do that way, and that certainly helps.
All right. Yeah. So you got any flavors coming up that you're rolling down the line?
So I started the Shake of the Month program about 4 years ago, and I've never repeated one yet.
Really?
So that's my goal.
4 years?
4 years. Well, I will. So every October I do pumpkin, but I do pumpkin to
a different. I got to do pumpkin
in a different way, right? So I guess but I've never
get complaints if you didn't do pumpkin.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I've never repeated a flavor, and I did that. That was like a thing that sparked through COVID, right? I said I got to come up with something new. I got to do something different. And part of the reason I did it was to always keep me on my toes, right? To because it's easy to get complacent, right? And sometimes, and I fall into ruts like everybody else where I can't come up with anything. But some months it gets really hard. It is what? It's the 25th. I have nothing for April.
I mean,
I got to get to work.
I mean, Easter is actually in March this year.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I got
to spring.
I got to get to work.
Yeah.
It's
April could be.
And I will say, a lot of the ideas that I get for the shake of the month come from customers.
Really?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like
I've
if
had some
you
really bad
involve your
suggestions.
you get the bad.
I've had some really bad
right.
suggestions, but
Right.
it's honestly the it's most of them like you see. I told you the other night my shake menu is like my constant everyday shake menu is mostly comprised of past shakes of the month that did really well.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I try to keep the shake menu like the everyday shake menu like every 6 to 8 months I try to switch that up. But yeah, the shake of the month thing, that one keeps me on my toes, and I can't tell you how many times it's like the night before and I'm over here and I'm making myself shakes and I'm trying to figure it out.
Right, because you got to do it. 8,
so anybody
10,
listening,
20,
if you have something,
yeah,
DM me.
Yeah. And so how could people find out more about you? Give us the address of the diner, your hours.
Sure. So 123 White Street. That's not a joke.
Okay.
People always think I'm messing around when I say that. 123 White Street, Danbury. Hours Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then Wednesday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
All right.
HolidayDiner.com. Find us on Instagram, Holiday Diner.
You own it.
That's it, man. That's yeah. And yeah.
Such a great diner named Holiday.
Thanks,
it's such
man.
like a classic.
Yeah.
You know.
I tried to figure out the lientage of the name, and I could never.
Yeah, somebody was
never
just
figure
like,
yeah.
I mean, it's better than Workaday Diner.
Yeah, right.
Sounds like it's
Monday
a
Diner.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. Monday morning diner. Happy Monday diner.
Yeah.
Well, George, it's been a pleasure, and
Thank you for
I'll
having
see you
me.
here again. I'll bring the family, and this is booth number what? Do we have
This is booth number 3.
Booth number 3.
Yeah,
All right.
Awesome.
Pleasure. It's great.
Likewise. Thank
All
you so
right.
much, man. I
Excellent.
appreciate it.